Hi folks, and welcome to Solarcabin channel. This is part 3 of my video series on using Google Sketchup to design small structures that can be used for houses, sheds, workshops, that sort of thing. And I am using Google Sketchup version 8. If you have one of the older versions, you may want to update to the newest version because some of the tools have changed. They have more options and things work a little bit better, and of course as they update the versions. Now we are going to be using a plugin that is made by a third party but designed for Google SketchUp. And there's a lot of plugins that you can use with SketchUp to make it work and do different things. This lesson is going to be on framing for a small structure. In the first two lessons we did a perspective model that helps you to visualize what you want a house or a structure to look like, and you can do interior work and even furnish it or put equipment in it, whatever you want to do. Perspective model really helps if you want to visualize what a project looks like when it's finished. But a framing model is what you would use if you want to construct the actual structure so that you can see all the bones, which is all the different components and lumber and all that sort of thing. It also helps a lot if you're trying to figure out material costs. Before you go buy anything, you want to see material costs and also to figure out structural strength for a structure. So what you're going to need is you're going to need to go to the internet and going to find Ruby, and I'll put the link down there in the information. Find the Ruby Library Depot, and then go on their main menu and find the plugin called Housebuilder. This is a third party designed by another party, but it works for SketchUp. It's designed to work in SketchUp. Download that and follow the instructions for installing it, and it will be installed into Google SketchUp. And the next time you open up Google SketchUp, if you go up to the Draw menu, you will see Housebuilder installed with a submenu. You can use it to build walls, gable walls, roof tools, and floors, and also change the global properties. So it's under Draw menu, and it'll be in Housebuilder. Now, I've got my Google SketchUp opened up. Of course, I got this lovely little lady standing here. I don't need her, so I'll just click on her and delete her. Now, we're going to start out designing a floor, and I'm going to build a structure that is 10 by 20 feet. This is the same size as my little luxury cabin. So this will kind of give you an idea of the structural framing that's used in that little luxury cabin video that I have on YouTube. So we'll start off by going up to the Draw menu, click on Housebuilder, click on Floor Tool, and it's going to ask me what size lumber I want to use. For small structures, I generally use 2x6s. You could, for the floor, you could use 2x8s, 2x10s, or even structurally constructed joists, or even 2x4s. 2x4s are a little bit weak for a floor, unless you're building a very small shed. I would go with 2x6s for any structure that's going to hold any type of weight. Then it also asks for the floor joist spacing. If you're not going to be putting a lot of weight on it, and it's not going to be used all the time, if it's a structure that's going to hold lightweight stuff, then you can go with 24-inch floor spacing. For a structure that's going to hold quite a bit of weight, and for a housing structure, I prefer 16-inch on-center joists. So I'm going to change this to 16-inch. Okay, so I got 2x6 floor with 16-inch joist space. Just click OK. Go to your corner, and you'll see it light up with a yellow dot. Just go in one direction of the floor wall, and what you're going to do is just decide how long you want it to be. And I'm going to do a 10 by 20 foot structure, so I'm going to type in 10 feet, and then I'm going to draw this over 20 feet, and it automatically puts in all of my floor joists. Now that's a whole lot easier than me drawing each one of these floor joists and then trying to slide them over and get them exactly in position. That's so much easier than doing it that way. But it does not put the ridge board on. You have to put the ridge board on. So what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this. And then we're just going to use our pencil, and going from one top corner over here, I'm going to go over. Now, whoops, I got a little ahead of myself. I clicked too fast. Okay, I'm going to draw over on the green axis. Now we know that 2x6s are actually not 2 inches wide. They're actually only 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to go 1.5 inches and draw a line there. Then using my rectangle tool, I'm going to grab that front corner there and click down to that bottom corner, and I'm just going to create a ridge plate right there to draw across, pull clear across this whole floor. So then I'll rotate this around. Then using my push-pull tool, I'm going to grab on the face of that, and I'm just going to pull that ridge board right along that all of those floor joists. And I'll back up here so I can get them all in the picture. And again, just using your push-pull tool, grab that, pull it over until it matches that front edge right there, and there you got a ridge board on one side. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll zoom in again. Okay, and again, just using your pencil. We'll show it from this perspective this time. Draw your line over on the green axis, 1.5 inches, and a rectangle from that point down to the bottom point. And you want to make sure you get on the right point. See, that's not the right point. That's the right point over there, but I am at the wrong angle to view it, so I'm going to turn this just a little bit so I can see it, and go down to the right point and put it there. Okay, then using your push-pull tool, grab the face, pull that across, and you can stop and do this in steps. You don't have to worry. You can keep pulling this. You don't have to do it all in one step. So I'm going to back up here so I can see more of the floor. Now I can see the entire floor. Now I can grab it and I'll pull that face right over there till it matches that. Okay, that puts my ridge boards on. Okay, and that is the structural framing for a 10 by 20 foot house or any structure. Now this helps a lot because now you can count how many 2x6s that you're going to need, and you can buy 2x6 by 10s in standard length. So there's 16 of these across. I already counted them. There's 16 2x6 by 10s, and then these would probably be 2x6 by 10s that are connected in the middle. So you would need 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and 16 across is 20. So now I know that for my floor I'm going to need 20 2x6 by 10s, and I can figure out my material costs from that. Okay, so that's why a framing model is a really good way of visualizing but also calculating how much money a structure is going to cost you. Okay, so there's the floor, and I just need to put a sheathing. I like to put the sheathing on before I put my walls on. That way I'm not, when you're looking through, you're not seeing these floor members underneath the rest of the structure. Again, the easy way to do that is just using the rectangle tool and the pencil. Just rotate it around to one side, and we'll go on this other side over here. Might make it a little bit easier. Zoom in and rotate this down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line from this corner over here, and I'm going to go up the thickness of my floor sheathing. 3/4 inches is generally used. 3/4 inch tongue and groove is what is generally used on flooring as a subfloor. So that I'm going to type in 0.75 for 3/4 inches. Then using my rectangle tool, I'm going to grab on the top of that and go over to this other corner over here and just make a little plate there. Then I'm going to take that front of that and I'm just going to drag it right across for floor sheathing. Now you could design individual 4x8 sheets to sheathe this with if you want to see where the marks are for cutting, and that's handy, and I usually do that with my models, but just to save time we're just going to draw one full sheet on, and you will know that those would be 4x8 sheets that are cut and staggered so that they fit onto the joist without any seams directly across from each other. Pull this across right over to the edge. Okay, now I've got my sheathing on my floor, and that way when I put my walls on I can still see underneath to see all the joist members. This way when I put my walls on it won't be so distracting seeing all those other floor joists sticking through there. Okay, so that is a floor with the sheathing on it, and I would use 4x8 tongue and groove sheathing. The subflooring is what goes underneath whatever flooring you're going to put in the rest of the structure. So if this is for a house, you could put pad and carpet on it. You could do it in tile. You could do it in wood flooring or laminate flooring. Any of those would go on top of your subflooring. Okay, so we've got this floor framed and sheathed. So now we're going to go ahead and put walls on it. Before I do that, though, I'm just going to paint this floor surface to look like plywood. And the reason I do that is so it doesn't show up behind the 2x4 frame. That way you can see the framing a little better. It's just more for a visual aspect. So I'm just going to choose some wood here and paint it, and then I'm going to change that. That's a little bit dark, so I'll change it to just a little bit lighter color. Make it look like plywood, and about like that. That looks pretty close to plywood. Okay, that's just so when I put the walls on here, you'll be able to see it a little clearer. So now we're going to use the Housebuilder draw tools again, and we're going to design a wall. So what you're going to do is go up to your draw menu, click on Housebuilder, go to Wall Tool. Now it will ask you what your justification is. This is the direction that it will start putting in the 2x4s into the wall. You can just leave it on right or left. It doesn't really matter because you're going to remove any excess 2x4s anyway. We're going to choose a lumber size of 2x4 for the walls. Now, if you're in a very cold climate, you may want to go with 2x6s. You can put more insulation into 2x6s, but because these structures are small, used for houses, are going to be heated, they're going to have enough insulation in the walls. We usually use 2x6s for the roof and the floor for a house structure, 2x4s for the walls, but if you want to go with 2x6s, or you could even go with 2x8s if you want, but 2x4s are enough structure and will support the weight of most snow loads in most areas for a small structure like this. You have a choice of your plate height. This is your wall height, okay? And 8 feet is just the standard for walls. You could go with a 10-foot high wall or even a 12-foot high wall, whatever you're doing. If you're building a multiple wall structure, here we're just going to do a single level structure, so we're going to leave it at 8 foot. This tells me my header height is set to 80 inches, which is standard header height. I will change the length here, but here's your stud spacing. This is the spacing between the studs and the walls. I usually recommend leaving it at 16 inch. You could go with 24 inch on a smaller structure and save yourself some material costs, but I like 16 inch stud spaces. If you have a heavy snow load, 16 inch will give you a little bit more structural support. Now, if you're going to be building this in an area with no snow load, you can go with 24 inch spacing on your studs and be just fine. This is your plate counts. You have a bottom plate which sits on the flooring, and generally that's just a single plate, and then you have a top plate, and that's what holds the roof on top of the walls. Generally, it's recommended that you have a 2 top plate count, and those are already set for you, but you can change them if you want. So the only thing I have to change here is I'm just going to type in a length of 20 feet. Okay, click on that. Now you'll see I got a blue dot connected to my cursor. Just go to one top of the corner, click on that, draw that over to the other top corner, and it automatically puts in your wall with the 2x4s on 16 inch spacing. Now that's a whole lot easier than me trying to draw that, okay, using just SketchUp. Using the modules is so much faster, and it puts on, you notice that it's got a double top plate, and just so you know what I'm talking about here, these are called the top plates, and you notice it's got a doubled 2x4 top plate. These are called the studs, and they're 16 inches apart, and the reason they're 16 inches apart is so when you start putting on your 4x8 sheeting, you can start from the left or the right side. Here we'd start from the right side because that's what we oriented to, and a 4x8 sheet will go from this edge of this right over to the middle of this 2x4 right here, and then the next one will butt up against it. That way you have something to screw both ends of a 4x8 sheet to. So these are called the wall studs, and then it's got a bottom plate, or called the sill plate also, but it's called the bottom plate, and this is just a single plate. This attaches to the ridge board through the plywood and is screwed down into your ridge board there. So there's your wall framing, okay? And I'm going to add doors and windows to this too. But before we do that, we'll go ahead and frame all of the walls. Excuse me. Now, going around to the other side, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And just go up into your draw menu, find your Housebuilder tools, click on Wall Tool. Everything here is still the same. I'm just going to change this to 20 feet. Click OK. Go to my top corner over here and over to this corner. And there it puts in my second wall. Okay, same exact thing. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the end walls, but I'm going to do them from the inside corner to the inside corner here. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in because that makes it just a little bit easier to see and to visualize what I'm doing here. So here I'm going to click on Draw, Housebuilder, Wall Tool, and I'm going to change this to 10 foot, even though it's actually not even going to be 10 foot. I'm going to change it to 10 foot. Okay. And just click on the inside of the corner where you want your wall to start, and the inside corner over here where you want your wall to start, and it puts the wall directly in the spot. Okay. It fills that in. Now you will notice that I've got an extraneous 2x4 sitting here. These are all on 16-inch centers, but then it put a 16-inch center in here because where this wall ends is right here on this 2x4. Well, I don't want that 2x4 in there. Well, remember I told you about components? Well, these walls are an actual component. You just need to click on it, and then click on Edit Group. Then click on any 2x4s you don't want in that, and you can erase the entire 2x4. Okay? Now I can start a 4x8 sheet over here on this side, and it will automatically run over to the inside of this wall over here. So there's my structural framing for a 2x4 wall, for an end wall. Click off of that, we'll close it, and do the same thing on the other side. And again, I will zoom in on this to show you, and it makes it easier for me when I'm working on it here. Okay, again, go up to draw in your Housebuilder, click on wall tool, just change this to 10 feet, click on the inside corner and the inside corner, and it puts in your wall. And again, I've got the same thing. I've got an extraneous 2x4 I don't want in there, so I'm just going to delete that by clicking, right click, hit edit group, click on that 2x4 and delete it. Now I can count the number of 2x4s that I need in my walls, okay, and see where the structural members are and how it would be built. Now I'm going to put in doors and walls on this, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put the roof on it. So let's close this, and we're going to go ahead and put on a roof. Now, in order to put on the roof, you need to be able to see the entire structure, and so this works a little better here. I'm just going to make sure that I've got this rotated so I can see the entire structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Draw, click on Housebuilder, and this time go to Roof Tool. Now you've got a choice of different types of roofs. A gable is just a traditional peaked roof like you see on most houses, okay? You could do a shed style roof, which is a roof that slopes just to one side. If you're building sheds, that's really handy. But we're going to be building a gable roof, which is just a traditional picked roof. I wish they had barn style roofs in here, but they didn't include that. Maybe they'll include that in a future module, but for now you only have gable or shed roof options. Now you can choose your lumber size. You can go with 2x8s, and that's what it's set for. For smaller structures, I usually just use 2x6s. You could even go with 2x4s on very small structures if you don't have much snow load. 2x6s are fine for most structures, so I'm going to go with 24 inch, or a 2x6. Now your joist spacing on your roof. If you got a lot of snow load, I recommend going with 16-inch spacing. If you don't get a lot of snow load and this isn't going to have people inside it, then 24 inches is fine. I prefer 16-inch spacing. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 16-inch spacing on this. This is your pitch. What your pitch is, if you see here, it's got an X divided by 12. For every 1 foot that you go this direction, how high do you want your pitch to go? Okay? And that's how high, that's the pitch that will end up on the roof, to the point or peak of the roof. Now it's already set at 6 inches, and I'm just going to leave it there. If I was going to build a loft in this structure, I might go to 12-inch pitch so that I have more headroom. It actually creates a 45-degree angle, and that would give me more headroom if I was putting a loft in this. But I'm just doing a single level structure with no loft, so I'm just going to leave this at 6 inches. Now this is your overhang. The overhang is what hangs off of the sides, and you want an overhang on your building so that the rain and snow doesn't run directly down the walls. So you want some type of overhang, whatever it is, and I'm just going to change this to 12 inches. I want 12-inch overhang and the rake overhang. The rake overhang is off the sides, the overhang is off the front. So I want a 12-inch overhang on both front and sides. So then just click OK. Go to your front corner where you want the peak. This is going to be where the peak is. I want the peak this direction. So I want to click there and to click there. And then just draw it over to the very end of your house walls. Click on that. And it will automatically build all of the 2x6 joists on 16-inch centers. Boy, that saved a ton of work. Okay, and a lot of frustration. It's really hard to build these roofs without Housebuilder if you're just trying to do them yourself. So that's much quicker. Now you will notice that the roof style design uses what is called a traditional bird's mouth construction method. Each of these 2x6s comes down from the roof beam, and then they have a notch cut in them that's called a bird's mouth. Okay, and each of the bird's mouth sits directly on the top plate of the wall. And this is a very strong traditional building method used in lots and lots of, still used in most new structures. However, the new building methods, and especially a lot of codes, require that you also use a hurricane strap, which is a metal strap that goes on the inside of the sill plate and then connects right here to the wall. And you would put that, or to the roof joist. And you would do that on about every other one of, you don't have to put it on every one, but you need it on about every other one of your roof joists so that what it does is it prevents the wind from catching underneath this and lifting the whole roof off. So a hurricane tie is also recommended even if you're using bird's mouth. But the bird's mouth is a very strong construction method and used on almost all houses. Now, that gives me my roof, my walls, and the only thing that I'm going to have to build on this structure to design myself is these end walls, because it does not include a way to put in end walls. You have to kind of calculate that yourself. And that's going to be just, you'll see how much slower that is when I have to construct it than it is using the modules. Now you'll notice that it put in a 2x8 instead of a 2x6. It used a 2x8 roof beam, but I would use a 2x6 on this, and so I'm just going to change that. Now to show you how to change that, just click on your module, then click on that roof beam and click edit group, and now you can move that real simple just using your push-pull tool. You can grab on the face of that and push it right up until it is exactly where you want it to be, and then let go. And now that is a 2x6 instead of a 2x. Make sure I've got it right. Yeah, that is now a 2x6 instead of a 2x8, which is what I would probably use for my roof beam. But if you want to use a 2x8, you can. But I just would use a 2x6. So now I can build the end walls on this, and I'll rotate this around to show you. But before we put our end walls in, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some doors and some windows on this. So let's rotate this around where I think the front of the house will be. We'll put the front on this side, and then we'll build some doors and windows into this. Okay, so now we're going to put some doors and windows into this structure. And remember, I told you that these walls are all components. So what you're going to do is click on that wall where you want to put a door or window, right click, and down at the bottom of your submenu you'll see where it says edit wall, and a little submenu will pop up here where you can change the wall properties. You can add windows, you can add doors, you can move doors, delete doors, whatever you want to do here. We're going to add a door here. So I'll go down to the door and click on add door, and then it will ask me if I want this centered or if I want it set to the left or set to the right, whatever you want to do. We'll just leave it set on centered. Here's your header height with a standard header height of 80 inches. That's how tall the door will be. The header size, you have a choice here. The header is the boards that run over the top of the door for structural support, and a standard for a small door is 4x8, which would basically be two 2x8s on end set side by side creates a 4x8. Then you can set the width of your door, and I'm going to leave it set at 3 feet, and that's standard size width of door, and the height of the door is going to be 80 inches. That's standard size door. So then just click OK. Now you'll notice that the wall disappeared, and you see I've got this orange box down here on the floor. It's asking me where I want to put the door. Now I'm just going to center this door so I can go right along this edge until I find the center point of the wall, and then I can just click on it, and it will put the wall back in with the door in place. Now I'm going to take out this extraneous 2x4 here so I don't confuse you. Right click, hit edit group, and I'm going to click on that one and delete it. Don't need that 2x4 there. Now the header, so you understand these terms, the header is the board that runs across the door top. That's this board right here. Okay? These boards right here. And generally they would be made out of 2x8s that are set lengthwise. You can see they are set lengthwise across the top of the door. That gives strong structural support. These boards, these 2x4s here, are called king studs. Okay? And you notice that there's two 2x4s put next to each other, but one of them is shorter and goes underneath the header. These are called king studs. King studs are called that because they have a crown of a header on them. The header sits on top of the king studs. This gives you very strong structural support over this opening, and you want strong structural support because anytime you make an opening in a wall, any weight from snow or anything up on top of here is going to push down more in that area and will cause this to sag over time. So you want good strong structural support. So those are called king studs. That's called a header for a door. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put in windows. So I'm going to back up here. Excuse me. And I'm going to do the same thing again. Click on my wall, hit edit wall, and this time I'm going to add a window. Okay? and it asks you again what your header is going to be. I want the header to be the same as the door, so it'll be at the same height as the top of the door. Header size, again, I'll use a 4x8. Sill size will be a 2x4, one single 2x4. Then it asks me the width and height of my door. I'm going to make these 2x3 windows, so I'm just going to click in 2 foot, change that to 2 foot by 3 foot, click OK. Again, my wall disappears, so I get the orange box, and I'm just going to go along this edge where I think I want that window. Okay, I'm going to put it right there. Now it puts in my window, as you can see, exactly the same height as the door, so it looks right. And again, these are called king studs. You got king studs on the inside of the window, and you've got a header, and then you've got a single sill plate of a 2x4. And again, I've got an extraneous 2x4 I don't really need in here, so I'm just going to click on the wall, hit edit group, click on that 2x4, and just erase it. Don't need that in there because there's enough structural support. Even though this is wider than 16 inches, there's enough structural support in there that extra 2x4 really isn't needed. And I thought I got rid of this one, but it put it back in, so we'll go ahead and delete it. Okay, and again, back it up here, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll click off of this. Click, right click, edit walls, add window. Everything the same there, I just need to change it to 2 feet. Run that over where I want it to be. Right there. And now I've got 2 windows next to the door on the front wall. Okay? And then I can take out, it keeps putting these 2x4s back in because when it replaces the wall, it just goes back to the original. So sometimes you have to do this a couple of times. That's alright, but I'm just going to erase that 2x4. And I'm going to erase that 2x4. And I'll leave that one in. And everything else looks okay there. Okay, so there is your wall structure. Now you can see I've got headers, sill plates, headers over the doors, nice structural wall. Here you can count your 2x4s and see how many you're going to need. So that's how you put in doors and windows in one of these walls. Now, I'm going to do the same thing on this end over here just to show you again. I'm going to put another 2x3 window in here. Make this fast. Click on it, edit wall, add window, change this to 2 foot. And I'm just going to, whoops, we went 2 inches apparently. That's not going to work. I got a little 2-inch window. That's okay. Just go up to edit, hit undo, add window, and go edit, unhide all. It'll put the wall back in there. So if you mess up, no big deal, you can fix it. Again, we'll do this right this time. Hit edit wall, hit add window, and then make sure you hit 2 feet instead of 2 inches. Okay? Then put that in there. And locate, I'm just going to center it here. And there it puts in a 2 foot by 3 foot window. And then you can remove these extra 2x4s. We won't worry about that right now. I just want to show you how to put in doors and windows. So again, around to this side over here. We'll do the same thing on this side. Edit wall, hit add window, change this to 2 feet, locate it centered, and it puts in my window. Okay, so I've got windows on both ends, 2 foot by 3 foot windows on both ends of the structure, and we'll put in a back door on this structure. And again, just select your wall, edit wall, add door, and it's already set to 3 foot, 4x8, header size 80 inches, so I don't even have to change that. And this time I'll put this back door on this structure over here. So now it puts in a back door, and I could put windows over here too, but I think you get the idea of how to do doors and windows. So that's how you put in doors and windows into your structure. And the next we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do the corners, because the corners on a structure are a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and I will show you how to do corners next. Okay, so now we're going to work on these corners. Now, corners of our house are always been kind of a tricky thing because you need to put in studs that will give you something to nail your drywall on the inside to, but also give the corners of the house, which generally hold the most of the weight of the roof, is on the corners of the house. And so you want good, strong, sturdy corners. You need something to be able to nail your wall 2x4s to, and also to attach your drywall to. So in order to show this better, first I'm going to take this roof off. I'm just going to, okay, and then rotating around here so you can see the corner. I'll zoom in. Now, you can see that this just has the single wall stud. Well, that's not enough support in a corner. They require 2 studs for codes, and it's generally recommended that you have at least 2 studs. Plus, you need something to nail that 2x4 from this wall to, and not just a single stud. So the easy way to do that is just to duplicate the stud that's already here. And this will be a traditional. We're going to first make a traditional corner. So just right-click, hit Edit Group, click on this stud, go up to Edit menu and hit Copy, and then hit Edit, Paste in Place. And then you can use your movement tool and just drag your second 2x4 right over there next to it. Okay? Then I'm going to separate those by 1.5 inches because I have to have them moved over. So what I'm going to do is just drag it that direction, type in 1.5 inches to set that 2x4 in place. Now I'm going to close that so you can see what we did there. Now this is called a traditional wall corner. Now they would even put in fire blocks inside here, but I'm not going to show that. But a traditional corner is built this way so that you have two boards that you can nail that outside frame structure to, and I'll show you from the inside here that it also gives you a lip so that you can put the drywall on the inside, because you're probably going to use drywall or some other type of sheathing material on the inside of the wall, and you need something to nail that to or screw that to. So now I've got a lip, as you can see there. I've got a lip on this side of this wall, so if I'm running my drywall this direction, I've got a lip to nail it to there, and when I'm running my drywall this direction, I've got a lip to nail it to there. That's called a traditional corner. Now that's used on a lot of houses still, but the problem with this is you see it leaves this little 1.5 inch space, which is difficult to insulate. Now sometimes they'll just put in spray insulation, but because this is a corner, what you do is you get bridging, and the cold will penetrate through a corner when you got that much bridging. So we try to reduce that and try to make it so that we can put more insulation in there. So now another way to do this, which is also commonly used now, is called a California corner, and is what I use when I build my structures instead of a traditional corner. And just using the same picture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this 2x4 to show you a California corner, and just select that 2x4. First open that, right click, and hit Edit Group. Select that 2x4 again. This time I'm going to use my rotation tool, and I'm just going to rotate that 2x4 right around so it's facing that direction. Then using my movement tool, I'm going to grab the corner of it, and I'll pull that right over until it goes against that 2x4, and then I'm going to have to move it back so it goes against that back edge. So again, using my movement tool, I'm going to grab on the inside corner, and I'm just going to move it back right there. Okay, now I'll click off of that. Now this is a California corner. Okay, and the reason they use it is because now you can see I can put a full bat of insulation in here and just tuck it right up against that 2x4, and that way it seals this so I don't have that little 1.5 inch space. And that is a nice way to do a corner, and it still gives you even actually more of a lip to attach your drywall to. You can see from the inside, now I've got a nice wider lip to attach my drywalls. I'm going across here, I can screw it to this lip. I've got a nice surface face to screw this entire 2x4 to over here, and I'm still using two 2x4 studs for a corner brace, but because I changed the direction on it, I've got a better pocket there for putting in insulation. So that's called a California King corner, and is how I build my structures. Works a little bit nicer, and gives you a better place to put your insulation in. Now I would do that to all 4 corners, but just to save time, we're not going to do it. I won't show it in all 4 corners. I just wanted to show you how I construct the corners. So next step, we'll put the roof back on here. I'll just go up to Edit, Unhide. We'll put the roof back on here, and now the next thing that I have to do that's going to take a little bit of time is to design these end walls, because the Housebuilder doesn't come with a tool to create end walls. I really wish it did, but it can't do that because you're going to be changing the pitch on different roofs, so it can't figure that out. But you can build end walls, and then now I'll show you how to do an end wall on both these, and then that will be, the frame will be complete once that's done, except for interior walls, and I'll show you how to do an interior wall on this too. So we're going to go ahead and do the end walls on this now. Okay, so now we're going to build the end wall that goes up to the peak here, and There really isn't an easy way to do this, but I will show you the way that I prefer to do it. First thing I want to do is I want to find the center mark of my wall here, because I'm going to have a center support. There's my midpoint of my group. Then I'm going to draw over from that, and because I want that centered, I'm going to go over 3/4 of an inch, because half of a 2x4, which is actually 1.5 inches, is going to be 3/4 inches. So I'm going to draw over 3/4 inches and make a line there. And then I'm going to rotate this up using my pencil. I'm going to draw that right over on the red axis to that mark, and then I'm going to go over 1.5 inches, which is the width of a 2x4. And what do you mean invalidated? There we go. Okay, try that again. 1.5 inches. And then back over on the red axis, and I'm basically just creating the start of a 2x4. And I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to pull it up. Right up. Right up, and then I can't see underneath here, so I'm going to have to visualize, zoom this up a little bit so I can see both plates. Grab the top of that, and I'm going to pull it, if I can grab it, I'm going to pull it right up until it goes right up even with that top plate. Now you know it pulled in the second line, but I'm just now that will line up. You can see it lines up directly underneath the roof beam, and that is my center support. Okay, and that is the main structural support for this end wall here. You may want to double this if you wanted to. You may want to put in an extra support in the center if you're going to have a lot of snow load, but generally, because you're going to have more supports here on this side and this side, that would be enough center support for that roof peak. Okay, then you're going to need to do some more end plates here so that we have something to nail this end wall here to. You're going to need more support. So the easy way to do that is I just go on 16-inch centers. From the outside here, I'm just going to type over 16 inches to make a guide mark. Then using my pencil, I'm going to go over here 3 inches or 3.5 inches for a 2x4. Make a mark, and I'm going to go in 1.5 inches. And then just using my rectangle tool, so you can see what I'm doing here, I'll rotate this down a little bit. Using my rectangle tool, just grab on the front of that and back to my line. Make my 2x4 start. Grab that, and then I'm going to pull it up so that it goes into that. Right there. Right there. So it goes all the way into that edge. Now, because this is angled, I've got to, of course, change this because I drew a flat 2x4. Easy way to do that is just to take your pencil and draw from that mark where it marks to that mark. Give yourself a line there. Then you can erase these, and it will change that to an angled 2x4. And on the other side, you'll need to do the same thing in order to get rid of those lines. Just draw your line from that intersection to that intersection. Use your selection tool, click on the lines, erase them. Okay, now you notice that that one runs a different angle. Okay, it gives me a place to attach my front plate on here too, but it runs in this angle underneath with a longer space underneath this 2x6. So it gives just a little bit more support is all, and that's the reason we do that. So there's your end plate. Now you'll notice that these sides are not on this 2x4. That's okay. I'm going to put those on after I remove the roof. I won't worry about it right now. I'll show you how we put those back on. So then again, I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here. From this outside edge, I'm going to measure over 16 inches. Take my pencil, draw a line from there over 3.5 inches. And in on the red axis, 1.5 inches. Using my rectangle tool, I'm just going to create a rectangle right there. And again, drawing that up, I'm going to draw that right up into that roof beam, okay, into that roof joist, and just leave it there. Then using my pencil, I'm going to go from that intersection down to that intersection, make me a line, and then just erase these lines. Okay, and same thing on the other side. I'm going to have to erase these lines over here. So again, take your pencil first. If you don't make this line, then it's going to erase the whole face of that, and you don't want to erase the whole face. So you got to give it another line to create the panel from. And then just erase these lines. Okay, that gives me my supports for my end wall. Okay, and I would put in another support over here. You see that you've got this face here. So you're going to cut a piece of plywood that fits in and goes against this, underneath this edge, all the way up to your roofing material. So because this is a fairly narrow space, I probably wouldn't need another support in there, and to save time, I won't show it. But if you need more support, you just keep doing the same thing right along here. You'd put another support here, another support, all the way across to make your end wall on this. So that's a basic end wall, okay? And then in order to do this on the other side without having to create all of these again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide my roof, and I'm going to hide this wall. That way I can see this. Take this up here. Now you can see I've got some extraneous black marks up there. I'm just going to use my selection tool, select those, and delete them. Get those out of the picture. They don't need to be up there. Okay, now I can fix, you can see that these 2x4s are open because I don't have lines on them to make them a closed face. So just attach those lines and it will automatically enclose that to make it into a 2x4. Alright, pretty simple to do there. Again, sometimes you got to click on that pencil to get it off the mark it's on. And again, click and just close that end up. Okay, now I've got those looking like 2x4s, and that's my end wall. Now I can turn that into a component. Instead of having to do the same thing on the other side, I'm just going to copy this, save myself some time. Okay, and back up here because I'm way too close to it. Rotate it up so it's just by itself. Then using your selection tool, make you a box around it, and just select just that. Remember how to make a component? Go up into your edit menu, go to make component, and we'll call this end wall. And I'm going to replace the component with the component and create. Now it's created a component there that I can transfer to the other side so that I don't have to go through that whole process again. I'm just going to hit edit, hit copy, hit edit, hit paste in place. Using my movement tool, I'm just going to grab this module that I made here on this outside edge. I'm just going to grab it and I'm going to keep it on the red axis. That way it goes directly across to where I want it to go. And again, I'm going to grab it with the movement tool on that front edge right there. And on the red axis, I'm just going to move it right over there onto that line. Okay? And that should line it up perfectly if I did it right. So now I've got two of those on both sides. Now I can put my end roof and my side roofs back on. Hit edit, unhide, all. And I've got my end walls on. Okay? Now I've got my end wall supports, my wall supports, my 2x4s all put into place so you can see how this is structurally made. Okay? And the only thing left to do on this is maybe put in an interior wall to show you how that's done. So we're going to go ahead and we'll pull off the roof and we'll make a end wall, or a inside wall here. So we'll take the roof off, just hide it. Make sure you don't erase those or you're going to have problems. Hide it. And if you want to erase these two just to make this so we can see it a little bit better, it's not distracting, I'm just going to hide those two. Now, wherever you want an interior wall, you just use the same process again. So let's put an interior wall. I'm going to make this section over here into a different room, maybe a living room like I did in the little luxury cabin. So then all I do is I just take my wall tool, draw, Housebuilder, wall tool, 2x4s, 8 foot, 80, and we'll make this 8 foot in here, okay? Or let's make it 10 foot. Again, everything else stays the same, so we don't have to change anything there. Click OK. Then where I want to start my wall is right here against this wall, on edge and group, okay? And I'm just going to draw it over on the green axis over to that edge in the group, and I'm putting my interior wall. Okay? That's an interior wall. Now, when you have an interior wall attached to an exterior wall, if you're doing this by code, they require that you have a second stud 2x4 where it attaches to. Okay? If you don't have codes to worry about, you don't have to worry about that. But the simple way to do that, again, is just to copy this 2x4 and move it where you want it to go. So what you do is just hit this wall, hit Edit Group, click on this 2x4. Move it first. We're going to move it, and I need to rotate this around. I'm going to move it so it lines up with this wall here. Just grab it and move it so that it snaps. Well, I hate it when they jump around like that. Okay. Try this from a different angle because I didn't like that angle. Grab it on this back corner here. Then snap it to that wall there. Okay. Then hit Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in place. That will make you a copy of it. Just grab it and slide it over so that it matches the other 2x4. Now you've got two 2x4s, and that gives you a surface to nail your interior wall 2x4 up to. Now I'm going to select off of that somewhere. You can see I've got an extraneous 2x4 in here on this wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on that wall, Edit Group, and I can remove that 2x4 because I don't need it in there. And that gets rid of that. Now there's your interior wall, and of course you're going to want a door unless you're creating a prison cell. You better put a door in your interior wall here. So wherever you want a door, you just follow the same thing that we did for the outside walls. Now I would put a 2x4 stud like I did over here against this other wall over here too, because you need two of them to nail those two. But to save time, I'm not going to show you doing both of them because you see how it's done. Now again, click on your interior wall and hit Edit Group. Or excuse me, go down to, forgot what I was doing there. Click on your, whoops. Okay, start over there. Okay, click on your wall, and then go down, right click and go down to Edit Wall, and then go to Add Door. Again, the doors are going to be the same. Maybe I don't want this interior door 3 foot wide. That's kind of wide for an interior door, so I'm going to go 2 foot 6 inches. 2.6 feet. Okay? And then I'm just going to center it here just to make it easier. Now it puts in my interior door. Okay? So now you've got a room inside your house with an interior door to go in and out. Okay? So that's how you do interior walls, and you can do them any size, length you want, height, whatever you want to do. And using the floor tool, if you were building a loft, you could put on, using your floor tool, you could put a loft over one side of this or one end of this to make a loft if you're putting in a loft. But you understand how to do it. That's the point that we were trying to get at here. So again, I'm just going to unhide everything so you can see this in the final form. And there is your framing model. And this way you can count all the different 2x4s, all the different structural members. You can figure out your material costs. You can figure out any stress points that might be on the frame or anything like that has to be changed. And that way you have a finished model that fits your structure, and you can see how it's built, and you can calculate the cost for materials. So that is a really fast tool. I could have done that whole entire house in less than an hour to show the framework, and then it's in 3D, which makes it real nice when you give it to a builder. They can see it in all 3D directions and see any special features that may be built into a structure. It really helps them when they're constructing the house. Okay? So there is a framing model. Again, you will need the Housebuilder plugin. Go to the website. I'll put the link down there so you can download it and play around with that. I think you'll have a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe to my channel. Please visit my website, simple-solar-homesteading.com, for more information. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.